Sometimes the quietest mornings hide the loudest memories. At Heartland, the sunrise still paints the sky the same way it did years ago, soft gold, calm, peaceful. But for one girl, that peace is just an illusion. Because today, Lyndy is about to face a ghost she's been waiting her whole life to see. A ghost she loves and resents all at once. The ranch wakes slowly. The horses breathe clouds into the cool air. The old barn creaks like it remembers everything. Amy walks across the yard, her boots sinking into the soft earth, carrying a quiet that feels heavier than usual. Inside the house, a photo sits on the mantel. Amy and Ty, smiling, frozen in a time that ended too soon. Beside it, a smaller picture of Lyndy, barely 5, holding her dad's old hat. That hat is older now, worn by memories and dust, but Lyndy still keeps it on her bedside table, like a promise she's never been able to let go of. Outside, the wind stirs, carrying the same sound that used to follow Ty's laughter. For years, it's been just a sound, a whisper that fades before it reaches her heart. But today, something about it feels different. It feels closer, almost real. Lyndy steps out of the house, her hands stuffed into her jacket, her eyes scanning the yard like she's searching for something she can't name. The ranch looks the same, the fences, the stables, the horses, yet everything feels off, like time is holding its breath. She walks towards Spartan's paddock, brushing her fingers against the fence rails. "Hey boy," she murmurs softly. Spartan leans his head closer, his dark eyes full of calm knowing, as if he feels what she can't yet see. Inside her chest, there's a mix of longing and anger. She doesn't understand it. Not fully. She's heard stories how kind Ty was, how strong, how much he loved her mom. Every person at Heartland talks about him like a hero, like he's still around somehow. But for Lyndy, that story feels unfair. Because heroes aren't supposed to leave, the camera pans to the fields beyond the ranch. The sunlight stretches long across the grass, and the faint outline of a man appears far away, almost invisible. The screen lingers just long enough for viewers to question what they saw. Then, a gust of wind blows through the open barn doors, rattling them as if the world itself is shifting. Amy looks up from across the yard, sensing something. She watches Lyndy standing still, her hair moving in the wind, her eyes locked on the distance. There's something in her daughter's face, not fear, but recognition. The narrator's voice softens. Heartland has always been a place where the past never truly fades. It lingers in the air, in the soil, in every soul that once called it home. But for Lyndy, the past isn't just memory. It's calling her name. The music swells, a low, emotional piano tune mixed with strings as the screen fades to black. The words appear. The morning sun climbs higher, painting the sky in pale orange. The ranch is alive again, but there's a strange stillness. Beneath the noise, the horses move slowly, their hooves soft against the earth. The air feels thicker, heavier, as if it remembers something the people have forgotten. Lyndy stands by the fence, her small hands gripping the wood. She stares at the open field stretching endlessly before her. It's the same view her dad once loved, the same wind, the same sky, and yet it feels empty. Every story she's ever heard about him plays in her mind. Ty could calm any horse. Ty always knew what to do. Everyone talks about him like he's still here, but he's not. And she's tired of pretending that stories are enough. Amy watches her daughter from the porch, coffee cup in hand. She sees the weight in Lyndy's shoulders, the same kind of quiet pain she once carried after Ty was gone. It's a kind of silence that hides a storm. She wants to call out, to ask if she's okay, but she doesn't. Because sometimes Amy knows silence says more than words ever could. Inside the barn, Lyndy runs her hand over Ty's old saddle. The leather is cracked, the initials still faintly visible. She brushes away the dust, like she's trying to bring him back, even just for a second. "Mom says you built this with Grandpa," she whispers, her voice trembling. "Why'd you have to go?" There's no answer, only the sound of the wind slipping through the cracks in the wood. But that sound doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels alive. It hums softly, like a heartbeat buried in the walls. Lyndy freezes. Her eyes dart toward the open door. The air outside ripples faintly, like heat on a summer road. She steps outside, the ground crunching under her boots. 4 A moment, she thinks she sees someone standing near the corral, tall, broad shoulders, the way Mom once described him. But when she blinks, the figure's gone. The camera lingers on her face, disbelief, confusion, hope all at once. Amy steps down from the porch, watching. Her voice breaks the silence. "Lyndy, you okay?" Lyndy nods quickly, forcing a small smile. "Yeah, I just thought I saw something." Amy tilts her head. "Like what?" Lyndy hesitates. Her lips part, but no words come out. She just looks at the horizon, where the light shimmers softly, like a memory trying to take form. The narrator's tone deepens. Sometimes, when grief grows quiet, something else begins to speak. Not in words, but in the spaces between them. Lyndy turns back toward the barn, clutching her father's old saddle blanket against her chest. The camera follows her footsteps, slow, uncertain. The world feels different now, like the air itself is watching her. As she disappears into the shadows of the barn, a faint echo rises, the distant sound of hooves, soft but clear. The kind of sound that shouldn't exist anymore. The screen fades to black as the narrator whispers. She doesn't know it yet, but the past she's been searching for is already on its way back home. The day grows quiet again, as if time itself is holding its breath. The horses stand still. Even the wind seems to stop moving. A thin mist creeps over the field, soft, silver, and strange. It feels like the kind of morning where memories wake up. Inside the barn, Lyndy brushes Spartan's mane. She hums softly, the same tune Amy once used to calm the horses when Ty was around. Her voice is shaky but gentle, full of the kind of warmth that only Heartland knows. The horse nudges her shoulder, restless, like he senses something coming. A sudden rustle. The sound of footsteps, slow, steady outside the barn door. Lyndy freezes. Her brush slips from her hand and falls to the ground. She listens. There, it is again, that same rhythm, that same calm walk her mother once described. Her heart begins to race. She turns toward the doorway. The light outside flickers as the mist thickens, bending and shifting like it's alive. And then a figure appears, not sharp or clear, but familiar. The build, the posture, the quiet presence. For a moment, she can't breathe. It's him, Ty. Not as a ghost of horror, but as something gentle, like a memory that found a way to take shape. His eyes are soft, full of the same kindness that everyone said he had. He doesn't speak. He just stands there, looking at her with the quiet understanding of someone who knows exactly what she feels. Lyndy steps back, shaking her head. "No," she whispers, "you're not real." But Ty doesn't fade. He takes one slow step closer, his boots barely touching the ground. The air around him glows faintly, like the light itself recognizes him. Amy's voice echoes from a distance. "Lyndy, lunch is ready." Lyndy doesn't answer. Her eyes are locked on the man standing in front of her, the man from every bedtime story, every whispered prayer. Her voice trembles as she speaks again. "You left us," she says. "Everyone said you were gone. You can't just come back." Ty's expression softens. "I never left," he says quietly. His voice sounds distant, like wind through the trees. "Not really." The camera moves in closer on Lyndy's face. Her eyes fill with tears, anger mixing with awe. She doesn't know whether to run or reach out. "This isn't fair," she says, her voice breaking. "You're supposed to be gone. Mom told me." Ty shakes his head gently. "She told you the truth she needed to believe. But hearts don't always follow what's real." Outside, the clouds shift, and sunlight spills into the barn. The horses whinny softly, not afraid, just aware. Lyndy reaches out, her hand trembling. The air between them hums faintly, alive, electric, warm. But just as her fingers are about to touch him, he steps back. "Why?" she whispers. "Why now?" Ty's eyes glisten. "Because you're finally ready to see me." The moment hangs in silence, beautiful and haunting. The light flickers, and then he's gone. Only the dust remains, swirling in the golden light. Lyndy stands frozen, her heart pounding. She looks at her hand, then at the empty doorway. Tears spill quietly down her face. She doesn't know if she just dreamed it or if the ranch just gave her something real. The narrator's voice returns, low and reflective. "Sometimes, when love is strong enough, even heaven listens." And at Heartland, Love has always had a way of finding its way back home. The screen fades to black as a soft piano note lingers in the air and the faint sound of Ty's laughter echoes, carried by the wind. The afternoon light dims over Heartland. Shadows stretch long across the fields and the sky turns heavy, almost storm-like. The peace that filled the ranch in the morning now feels fragile, as if one breath could shatter it. Inside the barn, Lyndy stands still, staring at the empty space where Ty once stood. The air still hums faintly, like the echo of his voice hasn't quite left. She wipes her face with her sleeve, trying to hold herself together, but the ache inside her chest is too strong. "You said you never left," she whispers into the silence. "Then why does it still hurt like you did?" Her voice cracks small, broken. Behind her, the air stirs again. Dust swirls in the sunlight. And then, quietly, the shape begins to return, faint, soft, almost like the light itself is trying to remember him. Ty steps forward again, slower this time, his eyes full of quiet sadness. "Lyndy," he says softly, "I didn't mean to cause you pain." Her head snaps up, tears in her eyes. "Then why are you here?" she shouts. "You left us, and now you just show up like nothing happened?" Her voice echoes through the barn, sharp and trembling. The horses shift uneasily, their hooves scraping the ground. Ty lowers his head. "I wanted to see you, to make sure you were okay." "Okay?" Lyndy laughs through tears, not from humor, but from disbelief. "I spent my whole life trying to be okay without you. I watched Mom cry when she thought I wasn't looking. I learned how to ride just so I could feel closer to you. But you weren't there. You were never there." Ty takes a step closer, but she backs away. Her voice rises again, filled with pain. "You don't get to just come back and make it better. You don't get to fix the story you left behind." The camera closes in on her trembling hands, balled into fists. The sound fades around her, no wind, no birds, just her voice and the silence of a ranch that's seen too much loss. "Why can't you just go back where you were?" she cries out, her voice breaking completely. The words echo off the barn walls, raw and honest. It's not just anger, it's grief finally speaking after years of silence. Ty's expression softens. He doesn't argue. He doesn't explain. He just looks at her, his eyes full of love and guilt. "If I could," he says quietly, "I would. But the place I'm in, it's not about leaving or staying. It's about watching over you. I never wanted to hurt you, Lyndy. I just wanted you to live." Lyndy shakes her head, tears streaming down her face. "You don't get it. Living hurts more when you remember." Ty takes another step forward, but this time, she doesn't move away. He reaches out his hand, almost touching hers, and for one fleeting moment, the world holds still. The air glows faintly between their fingers, a connection between the living and the gone. The narrator's voice returns, calm but heavy with emotion. "Some pain never fades, it just changes shape. And sometimes, the ones we love most have to break our hearts to help them heal." Ty whispers, "Tell your mom I'm proud of her. Tell her I never stopped loving her." Lyndy's breath catches. She nods, barely able to speak. But before she can answer, the light shifts again. The glow fades. The space beside her empties, only the sound of the wind remains. She drops to her knees, the weight of everything collapsing all at once. The barn is silent, but her father's words linger, not as pain, but as peace. The camera pulls back, slowly, showing Lyndy alone in the barn, surrounded by light streaming through the cracks. The narrator whispers, "Heartland has seen loss before, but never like this. Because this time, goodbye wasn't an ending, it was the beginning of understanding." The storm inside the barn has gone quiet. The light outside has softened again, falling in golden streaks through the cracks in the old wood. Dust floats in the air, turning slow circles like tiny ghosts of moments that just passed. Lyndy kneels in the middle of it all, her hands resting on the ground, her shoulders trembling with the last of her tears. From outside, footsteps crunch on the gravel. Amy's voice carries softly, uncertain. "Lyndy, you in there?" The barn doesn't answer. Only the faint echo of the wind moves through the rafters. Amy steps inside, her shadow long and gentle across the floor. She pauses because something feels different. The air carries warmth, almost like a memory still breathing. She looks around slowly. Everything is still except for the small shape of her daughter kneeling by Ty's old saddle. Lyndy's hair falls across her face, and Amy's heart sinks instantly. "Lyndy," she whispers, crossing the barn quietly. Lyndy doesn't move at first. She just stays there, staring at the ground, her fingers tracing the marks on the saddle Ty's initials, half faded but still there. When Amy kneels beside her, she finally looks up. Her eyes are red but calm. "He was here," Lyndy says softly. Amy's breath catches. "Who was, sweetheart?" Lyndy's voice trembles. "Dad." The camera focuses on Amy's face, the disbelief, the ache, the flicker of something she hasn't allowed herself to feel in years. "Hope." She swallows hard. "Lyndy, sometimes when we miss someone too much, our heart," Lyndy interrupts her. "No, Mom, it wasn't a dream. He talked to me." Her voice is firm, not like a child's fantasy, but like truth spoken too gently to deny. "He told me he never really left." Amy freezes. For a moment, she doesn't know whether to cry or smile. The sunlight hits her face, and her eyes glisten. She looks at the saddle, then at the open door as if expecting him to still be there, waiting. The narrator's tone deepens softly. "Sometimes, the people who carry the heaviest memories are the ones who hear the whispers first." And for Amy, that whisper sounded a lot like love finding its way home again. Amy reaches out and pulls Lyndy close, holding her tightly. Neither of them speak. The silence says enough. The wind picks up, brushing through the barn like a gentle hand. A loose paper flutters from the workbench, an old note written years ago in Ty's handwriting. "For Amy and Lyndy, always with you." Amy picks it up slowly, her fingers shaking. She looks down at the words, her lips parting in disbelief. A quiet tear slips down her cheek, followed by a soft smile that feels more like surrender than sadness. She looks toward the door again, her voice barely a whisper. "If you were here, Ty." "Thank you." Outside, Spartan neighs softly, and a gust of wind moves through the fields, not cold, not harsh, just warm enough to feel like a touch. The narrator's voice fades, and again, "Heartland has always been more than a ranch. It's a place where love refuses to die, where the past and present still hold hands beneath the same sky." Amy stands and takes Lyndy's hand. Together, they walk out into the sunlight, the camera trailing behind. The barn doors swing gently shut as the golden light spills across the screen. Soft piano music rises slow, hopeful, and on screen, the words appear. "He may be gone from sight, but never from Heartland." The sun has begun to set over Heartland. The fields are dipped in gold, and the world feels quiet again, not empty this time, but peaceful. Inside the barn, the dust has settled. The light glows softer, wrapping everything in a gentle warmth. It feels like the air itself is trying to comfort them. Amy stands near the doorway, still holding the note she found, Ty's handwriting glowing faintly in the evening light. Lyndy sits on a bale of hay beside her, silent, thoughtful. Neither of them speak for a while. There's no need to. The silence feels sacred. Finally, Lyndy breaks it. "Mom, what if he really was here?" Her voice is small, cautious, but steady. Amy looks at her, eyes full of tears she doesn't try to hide. "Sweetheart, sometimes the people we love find ways to reach us when we need them most." Lyndy nods slowly. "He said I was ready to see him." "What do you think that means?" Amy smiles faintly. "I think it means you're growing into the kind of person he always hoped you'd become: brave, honest, and strong." Her voice trembles, soft but sure. "He must have wanted you to know that you don't have to keep holding on to the pain anymore." Lyndy looks down at her hands. "I yelled at him, Mom. I told him to go back where he was." Amy kneels beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "He understands, honey. You didn't push him away. You finally told him how much it hurt." Sometimes love means saying what your heart's been too afraid to say. The camera pans toward the open barn doors. Outside, the sky burns with soft pink and gold, a kind of beauty that feels too perfect to be real. In the distance, a lone horse runs across the field, its mane catching the wind. It looks free, peaceful, almost like a reflection of Ty himself. The narrator's voice returns, warm and gentle. "Sometimes the truth doesn't arrive with thunder or tears. It comes quietly in the stillness after the storm, in the peace that follows goodbye. Amy stands, folding the note and slipping it into her pocket. She glances once more at the horizon. He's at peace now, she whispers, and maybe, so are we. Lyndy wipes her eyes and smiles softly. Do you think he'll ever come back again? Amy looks toward the setting sun. He doesn't need to. He never really left. The music swells soft strings over a slow piano melody. The light in the barn shifts from gold to deep orange, like the end of a long day. The narrator continues. Heartland has always been a place of beginnings and endings, but some stories never truly end. They linger in laughter, in love, in the gentle wind that moves through the fields. Morning breaks again over Heartland. The ranch glows under the soft light of dawn, every blade of grass touched by gold. The night before feels like a dream, one that left behind something more real than words. Amy steps out onto the porch, a mug of coffee warming her hands. She looks out across the land, breathing in the familiar scent of horses and hay. The same air Ty once breathed, the same view they built together. Lyndy is already outside, leading Spartan toward the paddock. There's a new calm in her movements, a quiet strength that wasn't there before. She laughs softly when the horse nudges her shoulder, and for the first time in a long time, that laugh sounds free, not weighed down by grief. Amy watches, her heart swelling with both love and relief. The camera lingers on her face as the narrator's voice fills the space. Some goodbyes never end in silence. They turn into lessons, into strength, into the courage to keep going. And at Heartland, courage is what keeps every heart beating. Lyndy calls out, Mom, can you help me with the gate? Amy smiles, setting her cup down and walking over. You've got it, she says, but I'll be right there. Together, they work side by side, mother and daughter, in the same light that once shone on Amy and Ty. The camera circles them slowly, the ranch stretching endlessly behind. Every corner of the land feels alive again. Lyndy glances up at the sky. It feels different today, she says. Like he's still here. Amy follows her gaze, the corners of her lips lifting. Maybe that's because he is, she says, softly. Just not in the way we used to know. The wind picks up gentle, familiar, brushing through the trees and across their faces. The same wind that carried Ty's voice now feels like a blessing. A soft whisper moves through the scene. You're doing just fine. The camera pans to the wide open fields, horses running free, sunlight spilling over the hills. The narrator's voice returns one last time, steady and full of warmth. Heartland isn't just a place on a map. It's a home built from memories, from love that refuses to fade. And as long as that love remains, no one who lived here is ever truly gone. Amy and Lyndy lean against the fence, watching the horses run. Lyndy smiles, holding the worn saddle blanket close, the one that once belonged to her father. Amy wraps an arm around her shoulders.